Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, welcome back. Let's do a quick rundown on what's happening with the Asian markets this morning. It's actually under some amount of pressure. Markets like Japan, etc., are down about 100 odd points. The SGX Nifty as well, the last time I checked, was not doing much. Look at that. Shanghai, Japan are both in the red, down almost about half odd percent or so. But let's get the SGX Nifty as well up for you, flat with a bit of a red bias. Today is a day where it's difficult to pin down 10 stocks, so we're going to just highlight the important ones for the day. Our entire team is now here. Anuj, what are you looking at today?
So, Sonia, before that, if we don't breach yesterday's low, in that case, today could be a good day for short covering, especially on the Bank Nifty. So just keep an eye on that because some of the stocks have done well. HDFC Bank has been the strongest stock in the Bank Nifty for the last 3-4 days. Very aggressive delivery buying over the last few days. These are like the recession-proof stocks which have really, which would have saved you in this fall. The other is Hindustan Unilever. It's again testing the 20-day moving average. Every time it's doing that, it's bouncing back. Remains the bastion of safe haven buying. So that could be an interesting stock today.
Okay, well, with a similar caveat, I would want to watch the PSU banks. In fact, even ICICI and Axis, all corporate banks, I'm once again referring to the newspaper story that an ARC or an AMC is really not coming because the government will not be willing to put money. This is exactly what bankers told me yesterday. Will they really be able to transfer all their power assets or bad assets? It looks unlikely. And then there is this huge backlog of provisioning of old recognized assets. So they are worried about the amount of provisioning that will be needed. But again, the point is almost all the mid-cap PSU banks are at fresh 52-week lows. So today being expiry day, and if they got a little bit of help from Nifty Bank, is today the day when you want to go and short it further? I do not know. But all I can say is that they are in a serious spot of bother.
Yeah, it's interesting you said, mid-cap PSU banks, barring an SBI, all are now mid-cap.
Exactly.
But yes, I take your point. Look at Bank of Baroda. The way the stock has fallen over the last few days.
My holidays really cost them. Before the holiday, it was 154 and now it's 115.
Yeah, massive fall. Ekta, what about Dr. Reddy's?
Well, it's in focus because of the Suboxone hearing, that is that anti-drug addiction drug that Dr. Reddy's had launched at risk. So the innovator moved against Dr. Reddy's launched, and that particular court hearing is going to take place today on whether or not Dr. Reddy's can continue selling it or what the court thinks with regards to that patent litigation. So hence that will be important to watch out for.
Okay, Ekta, thanks a lot for that. There are some stocks on Mangalam's radar as well. Mangalam, which ones are they?
Well, these are some F&O stocks, Sonia. Yesterday the NSE released a circular in which it enlisted about 19 companies on which, for trading in which would require additional exposure margin. Now, usually for one to trade in F&O stocks, they have to give margins anywhere between 5 to 10%. But the NSE for this series, the July series, that is the coming series, they've released a list of 19 stocks on which additional 15% margin would be levied. So the street believes that F&O positions in these stocks would be unwound to prevent for traders to prevent paying up that additional 15% margin. So if you just take a look at the stocks, the rule of thumb, perhaps the intuition is the stocks which are under pressure would see some short covering, whereas the stocks which have seen some gains, very few this series, GMR Infra as well as Granules are the ones which are seeing a cut of 14% and a gain of 5%, and those stocks are likely to see divergent moves. So those 19 stocks on your list right now, on your screen right now.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. And now, Anisha, some more stocks where there is news that we should be attending to?
Well, yes, Natal, I have a couple on my list. First up, Mercator will be in focus because one of the group companies have received the mining license from Government of Gujarat for oil discoveries for a period of 20 years. So that will be in focus. And separately, Exide will be in focus because they have signed a joint venture with one of the Swiss companies for manufacturing, assembly and distribution of lithium oil batteries. So that might see a bit of green tick. Back to you.
Okay, thanks a lot for that. Well, let's take a quick break. Our technical experts, Ashwini Gujral, Sudarshan Sukhani and Mitesh Thakkar will join in on the other side.
Welcome back. The SGX Nifty is indicating that we'll have a flat start. Couple of Asian markets, the emerging markets have moved into the green, so that could be interesting. Ashwini Gujral, Sudarshan Sukhani and Mitesh Thakkar now join us. Good morning, gentlemen. Ashwini, what's the first trade today and what's the bigger trade? Would you want to sell any kind of pullbacks, or you think today could be a day of short covering?
Well, good morning. This is not a market where you have trade for the day, etc. If the market is in your favor like it was yesterday, you blast the hell out of it. And on rest of the days, you just hang around. If we are going to open almost flat, even if you do get short covering, it may not be tradable to the upside. So the only scenario where I will trade is 10,700, 720 if we get there for any reason, or towards 26,500 thereabouts on the bank nifty. The trend is down, but you can't take the trade in the first minute and hope for it to work, because it's still all over the place. There is no clear trend. There are days when it looks like a great amount of trend has started. On the rest of the days, it's best to stick with individual stocks.
Okay, fair enough. We'll come back to you for those individual stocks, Ashwini. Good morning, Sudarshan. Would you say the same? Not trade the Nifty or short it if it gives you a little bit of a bounce?
Good morning, Lata. No, my view has been, and since the last 4 days, that we are likely to break this trading range, which we broke yesterday, and we should position ourselves in anticipation by buying put options for July. That has been a consistent theme, and that continues. July should see lower levels, so the big trade is as a positional trader, because intraday choppiness is avoided when you take a position, and hopefully the market obliges. So even now, nothing is lost. If you don't have put options for July, essentially a bearish call, buy them. 10,700 now strikes and stay with the trend. It's going to be choppy. This is a correction. It's not a clear downtrend. So a correction normally goes down, moves up, again goes down, and creates a lot of volatility. But the direction is downward. So stay with that direction for the positional view. But for today, I think the markets can surprise us again by actually moving up. I would be a buyer on any intraday dip. This is a pure intraday trade. The positional view is bearish.
The positional view is bearish. Mitesh, would you concur with that it's better to buy puts in this market because it's heading downwards?
Yeah, good morning. So I think, breaking below 10,700 clearly suggested that there should be some kind of a downward bias. I think I expect 10,600, 590 to be tested to begin with. And if those levels break, we could see even further downside. So keeping that kind of view in the mind, I would be comfortable buying into put options. We get a 20-30 point, I think we'll be comfortable selling futures also. Close at about 10,695, 700 zone with a stop about 10,725. I think 10,600 remains the first target, but eventually there is a risk that we might even break below that.
Oh, I see.
Ashwini, let's discuss individual stocks then. What's on your list?
See, it's clear that PSU banks have the most amount of momentum on the downside. So you have to get short, and like I said, most of them will be 2-digit. Now, maybe at some point I'll have to revise even the 2-digit numbers. So, basically the money that's coming out of there is getting into strong retail private banks. So you could have, PSUs down and retail private banks going up. So that way, Shrey Infra is a sell with a stop of 66, target of 58. REC is a sell with a stop of 105, target of 97. Bank of India is a sell with a stop of 90, target of 84. These are safer sells because nobody will try to cover their shorts, or no huge buying is expected, but still try to sell once the market rallies a little bit. On the buying side, Oro Pharma is a buy with a stop of 612, target of 630. And Jet Airways is showing a fresh breakdown now. That's a sell with a stop of 359, target of 344.
Okay. Well, Sudarshan, you're probably going to bring some cheer for the bulls. You have more buys than sells.
Yes, Lata, at least for today. Yesterday I had more sells, and fortunately that worked out. We'll start with the buys. They are much easier. Britannia is a buying opportunity. Here is an FMCG stock that's outperforming, and FMCG is outperforming the larger market. So go for it. Consider buying it. Today is a dip, and this is an intraday buy. Mindtree is a buy. It was sideways and in a narrow range, and apparently that narrow range was only a minor correction. It's now should be heading higher again. So that's again a call for the day. And the third buying idea is Piramal Enterprises, PEL. PEL has been lagging. I'm assuming it's a pharma stock, and it's been lagging the other pharma stocks, but now it's breaking out of a very attractive base. It's a positional buy. It's also an intraday trade. So 3 buy ideas. Primarily, we are going for top quality stocks. Let me make this clear. You just don't go and buy anything you want. You have to focus on the best quality for today, on for any day. 2 short sells, Apollo Tyres, where the stock is now breaking down, is going to likely to follow what CEAT has done, maybe not as intensely on the downside, but certainly lower levels are being visible. So that's a short sell. And CESC, I've spoken about how all power companies are suggesting lower levels coming. Something fundamental is going on there. The charts are only reflecting that. But CESC is also a short sell.
Okay, well, Sudarshan likes Britannia, and from that same space, Mitesh, you like Dabur. Tell us about that, and what else are you looking at?
In fact, FMCG has held out very nicely in this decline. Dabur made a fresh closing high yesterday, a good swing breakout. Buy with a stop bid of 388, look for 405 as the first target. And I have second buy call on Tech Mahindra, which is a conditional buy. It's moving into an upward sloping contracting pattern. The breakout happens above 722, so buy it if it starts getting past 723, keep a stop at 709 and look for targets of 750. 3 sell calls. DLF is a sell with a stop at 196.20 for targets of 182. Escorts is a sell on a mild pullback. Try to sell around 860, 863. Keep a stop at 876. Look for targets of 830. And R Power is a sell with a stop at 33.3 and look for targets close to about 30.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for these calls. We will keep coming back to you. Take a quick break, and then we're going to focus on the mid-cap IT space. That's one. It's been a good year for mid-cap IT stocks, and I could reel out the list for you. Many stocks like Mindtree, Mphasis have all rallied over 50%. Hexaware has seen a near 40% up move year to date. So is the sector good for more? Is this supported by fundamentals? R. Sri Krishna, CEO of Hexaware Technologies, joins us to talk about the FY19 outlook. Good morning, Sri Krishna. Thank you very much. I was looking through the old interview we had with you after your results, and the only point of vulnerability appeared to be the margins. Can you give us any more color? I mean, the H-1B visa costs, as well, any drop in utilization, because you have a bunch of newcomers in your company.
Sure. See, for the full year, we had said that we will maintain margins as it was last year. There will be quarterly variations. We have planned for a reduction in utilization in the earlier part of the year. So, in fact, this current quarter we are in, we've said there will be a reduction in utilization. But that's almost kind of winding up on supply to satisfy demand for the later part of the year, right? Rupee has been friendly to us so far.
Yes.
That was not something that we had budgeted for, but, a little bit of hope was there for that, but not budgeted for. So it's been friendly, and that, for 2018 will not impact EPS, because our hedge policy is meant to cushion against short-term changes, but it will have an EPS impact from 2019 onwards.
Okay. The last time we spoke with you, Sri Krishna, you mentioned that for the full year for CY18, you have a 10 to 12% revenue growth target. And you did say that could be slightly, on the conservative end, or at least that's what the street implied. Do you think, given how good the first quarter was, perhaps you could even beat that target by the end of the year?
So what we've said is that if there's a change, we will, provide a revised guidance at the end of H1, which is our quarter 2, which is coming up shortly. In a month from now, roughly, we will be announcing results. So yes, the first quarter was better than expected. We still expect Q2 and Q3 to be the most robust quarters for the year. And that's what we said then. And so if that does turn out to be the case, then we should see better numbers ahead.
Can you give us some color on deal wins in the past few months?
Sure. I mean, I can only talk about deal wins as it was at the end of last quarter. I can give a broader color, but not specific numbers. We don't make announcements between the quarter.
Use an adjective. Was it better than you thought?
Well, I wouldn't say that, because we don't kind of deal wins, especially as it pertains to new clients, it tends to be spiky through the year.
Okay.
So I like to kind of judge it over the course of the full calendar year period. And quite often, deals kind of get to sign in a rush towards the end of the year. Every year, our Q4 tends to be the best. And so without looking at Q4 of the year performance, it's hard to judge for the full year. What I can say for sure is two things about our deals. One is our pipeline is very strong. Two is that, apart from a strong pipeline in new customers, we have a bigger than ever pipeline among existing customers. So our existing customer pipeline is really ballooned to become quite material.
Okay. The last time, at least in the last few quarters, your SG&A costs as a percentage of revenues had risen because of a few investments you guys had made, and that impacted margins a bit. Going ahead, since those costs may not, reoccur, do you think margins could move up further?
Well, so there are some cyclicalities every year within different, quarters. For example, in Q1, we have costs pertaining to H-1B application fees. In Q2, we have the actual H-1B fees that come in. So we will kind of, I think, recover some margins during the latter part of the year. So, right at the beginning, I said it's our goal to maintain full year margins at the same level as last year full year margins. Our Q1 was lower than last year full year margins, so it will improve during the rest of the year.
Okay.
It will improve in part because our SG&A as a percentage will be lower.
Okay. What about BFSI, Sri Krishna? Usually the conventional knowledge is that when interest rates rise, that segment could wobble a bit.
Actually, we have a lot of capital markets customers, and especially on the buy side, and they actually tend to make money when interest rates rise.
Okay.
So it's not actually. So our customers actually stand to benefit, at least for part of their portfolios, and they're not a type of industry which will immediately open pockets and it will translate to higher spend, but it's not a negative, certainly, for our industry.
Okay, one final question then. The growth in the North America geography was not so good for the last couple of quarters. Has there been any improvement there, not just for your company, but for the industry in general?
We expect our North America growth certainly to be better. And if you take a longer view, 2-3 years, our North America average has been very robust, and we expect our NA growth to come back to those historical averages. In terms of macros, North America has been very good. And in fact, the projections for Q2 for North America are that it could be the highest ever GDP growth in the last 15 years. That there are at least some estimates which top GDP growth at 5.5% for Q2, which will be that's a number that hasn't been seen for about 15 years or so. So the macros are very strong in North America.
Oh God, 15. That means 2003 really. Okay, good for you. Thank you very much, Sri Krishna, for joining us and giving us some color on how things are panning out. Not really swerving from what he told us at the end of the quarterly numbers. So we will look forward to the next quarter with interest. With that, let's shift focus back to trading strategies for the day. And F&O strategies are going to be important. It's expiry day, and Manoj Muralidharan of Religare Securities joins us now. Good morning, Manoj. Well, Nifty broke its 8-week range of 10,700 to 10,900. What's the likely finish for this contract?
Good morning, Lata. Lata, when we started this contract of June, it was a Nifty which was lacking around 25 lakhs in open interest with what we started the May series, and the Bank Nifty had a good 6 to 7 odd lakhs positive. So what we believe is this trend, this month of June was more dictated by the Bank Nifty, and the ratio of 2.47 between them is what the resistance was, and we believe that somewhere close to a 2.35 will find a support. So simply saying that if you look into the roll cost for July, a long roll cost, it is as low as 6 to 7 basis points. And I guess, Lata, even a 6 months average would be at least 16 to 20 basis points. So unfortunately, this can give rise to some VWAP, which is your volume weighted average price distribution towards the second half of the day. But if you're looking at the Bank Nifty, we are expecting the rollovers happen at 54% and we're expecting that to surge in. So it would be, I feel it might be two different trend in the intraday. Possible we might see a level of 620 to 630 in the first half of the day, but then eventually we believe that the levels of 26,040 or let's say 26,050 for the Bank Nifty is where we might see the support. And a VWAP buying from the Bank Nifty, especially the private sector banks, can take the Bank Nifty towards a 26,300. So the better strategy is the first half of the day we recommend buying a 10,700 put option for the Nifty. You'd buy it close to 30 rupees. The target should be 70. And we believe that if you get 26,200 call option for today expiry somewhere close to 8 to 10 rupees in the second half, that is where you buy that for a target of 68 rupees.
All right. What about individual stocks? Anything that you would be looking at to trade this morning?
Yes, I would, Sonia, I guess ITC and Dish TV would top the list. We recommend buying that in the cash market, even though it's an expiry, and we do recommend buying the stock futures. So buying at 261. ITC has got an excellent support of 257, and we believe there's this range of 257 to 280 is what it trades at. So for the short term, buying at 261, stop loss 257, and we're expecting a target of 270 on that. Dish TV as well, we believe might come into the VWAP candidate. So buying at 71 with a stop loss of 69. And a trade of 76 is what we're expecting, because Sonia, I was just saying this month of July might be a 450 to 500 points on the Nifty, and if we believe this ratio of 2.45 is taken off, we might see it on the positive side. So we're just waiting for that. If the VWAP happens positive and the Bank Nifty in the second half, I believe July will be a positive month, at least for the first let's say fortnight of the contract.
Okay. Thanks, Manoj, for joining us. We'll take a short break on that note. We'll come back with the pre-opening rates. Devin Choksi of KR Choksi will also join in to discuss some fundamental stock ideas.